What if the outcome of this war is not decided in muddy trenches, but in the flicker of lights across your own city? Imagine a battle waged not on open fields, but in the shadows above rooftops and power lines. An invisible war unfolding not just in military zones, but in the very places where people live, work, and dream. On the night of October 31st, Ukraine watched in trepidation as new long-range drones appeared overhead. These were not the weapons of yesterday. They are designed to strike far beyond the front lines, reaching straight into the heart of daily life. Suddenly, even cities once considered safe now tremble beneath the threat of sudden, invisible attack. The sense of security that once shielded millions is eroding, replaced by anxiety that any ordinary evening could be shattered by a distant hand. As headlines dwell on grinding battles miles away, a deeper and more insidious crisis quietly unfolds. The front lines are moving. They are seeping into kitchens, factories, and apartment blocks, transforming the very definition of the battlefield. This war is no longer just about soldiers and their weaponry. It is about energy grids blinking out, water pumps falling silent, and families shivering as heat disappears in winter's grasp. These are the battle scars of a modern conflict. Ignore this shift, and the danger becomes painfully real. The loss of power, water, and safety could arrive overnight, without warning. What is targeted is not only military strength, but the lifelines that keep millions alive and determined to endure. In the past, sieges worked by surrounding a city, cutting off supplies until surrender. Now, the siege can come with a single drone, a single missile, severing connections that once seemed unbreakable. So how did the war move from distant trenches to the very heart of civilian life? Let us trace the path that brought us to this new, precarious battlefield. To understand this transformation, we need to look at how modern warfare targets not just armies, but the infrastructures and daily routines that hold a nation together. Throughout history, wars have often been decided by the destruction of critical infrastructure. In World War II, the Allied bombing of German railways and factories was as crucial as any tank battle. Today, that strategy has evolved into a high-tech, omnipresent threat. Forget everything you know about safe zones. In Ukraine, safety is a myth, shattered by relentless waves of drones and missiles, each rewriting the rules of war. Distance no longer guarantees protection. Today, nowhere is truly out of reach. In the past, living far from the front line meant relative peace. Now, technology has erased those boundaries. Consider the latest drones, such as the Atolmas models. These are not just flying bombs. They are fast, nearly invisible, and engineered to infiltrate deep behind enemy lines, carrying powerful payloads meant to cripple both military and civilian targets. Their stealth and speed allow them to slip past defenses and strike with almost no warning. What was once considered safe, 20 kilometers or more from the front, now offers only a false sense of security. The range and precision of these attacks mean that even places once deemed untouchable can be devastated in moments. The threat is not hypothetical. In December 2022, a drone strike on the Engels Air Base in Russia, hundreds of kilometers from the border, demonstrated just how far-reaching these weapons can be. Urban centers, industrial plants, and infrastructure hubs are no longer insulated. Power stations, railway terminals, bridges, and fuel depots are all in the crosshairs. The old boundaries of the front have dissolved. Every city, every factory, every neighborhood now faces the same relentless threat. Clinging to old assumptions about safety is a deadly mistake. Critical infrastructure and civilians are exposed, and attacks can come without warning, at any hour, in any place. Underestimating this evolving threat leaves the backbone of daily life and national defense vulnerable to sudden, catastrophic blows. But this war is not just about machines and technology. The true cost is revealed on the ground when the lifelines that sustain a nation are shattered in an instant. The human toll begins where the explosions leave their mark. To grasp the real stakes, we must witness what unfolds when these attacks hit home. The human cost is not measured only by casualties, but by the slow unraveling of daily life. Picture waking to a world gone unnervingly silent. Not just your apartment dark, but your entire city abruptly severed from the outside. No electricity, no running water, no trains echoing down the tracks. This is now daily reality across swaths of Ukraine, as relentless missile and drone barrages target power plants, fuel stores, railway hubs, and reservoirs in a calculated campaign to suffocate the nation's lifelines. Every strike sends fresh shockwaves through the fabric of life, each blackout rippling outward like a warning. Darkness lingers for days. Utility workers race against time, patching what they can, only to see their efforts shredded by the next barrage. Supplies dwindle, exhaustion mounts, and the familiar order of things slips away. Hospitals run on emergency generators, faucets run dry, city blocks dissolve into a hush broken only by distant sirens. Historical parallels abound. During the London Blitz in World War II, blackouts were enforced to protect against bombers. Now, in Kyiv, blackouts happen because power lines are destroyed, not because of a defensive policy. The result, the same darkness, the same fear, but with the added complexity of modern dependence on electricity for everything from heating to medical care. Yet it is the front that bears the deepest scars. When the rails are severed and locomotives lie smoldering, troop rotations freeze in place. Ammunition convoys and food shipments are stranded or destroyed. On the line, soldiers face an unforgiving calculus. Fight on empty stomachs, short on sleep and hope, as relief grows ever more uncertain. For civilians, even small comforts become hazards. Charging a phone or lighting a stove risks drawing deadly attention. The simple act of gathering at a well can become a gamble. Morale does not just waver, it fractures. As winter creeps in and warmth becomes a luxury, despair gnaws at resolve. People quietly wonder how much longer they can endure, not only in body, but in spirit. Consider the stories from small towns like Pokrovsk and Mirnohrad, where residents now keep go-bags by the door and sleep in shifts in case the next drone is aimed at their building. In the industrial zones of cities like Kupiansk, workers have become volunteer firefighters and medics, patching up not just machinery, but each other. These are not isolated incidents. They are the new normal. This is not merely a contest over territory. It is the slow dismantling of a nation's backbone, where failing to shield or restore infrastructure means risking far more than ground. It means risking the very will to persist. In this war, time is weaponized. Every day without power, water, or supplies tips the scales toward collapse. But how did Ukraine's war enter this new phase, and what tools are reshaping the battlefield? To understand, we need to look at the evolving arsenal and the strategies behind these relentless attacks. This is not just about tonight's blackout or tomorrow's headlines. Ukraine is fighting to keep the lights on for next month, for the coming winter, for every uncertain day ahead. Relentless barrages now target power grids, railway lines, and fuel depots. Each strike demands hard choices, impose rolling blackouts, spend dearly to import emergency electricity, or gamble on a system buckling under relentless strain. Damage is cumulative. Every shattered substation deepens the crisis. Blackouts grow from hours to days, multiplying losses and eating away at public patience. Factories idle, transport falters, and families are left to shiver in cold apartments, the dark stretching endlessly ahead. Civilians improvise. Candles flicker in kitchens, long queues snake from empty gas stations, children sleep in their coats. But endurance has limits. As the weeks drag on, even Ukraine's famed resilience starts to fray. In the winter of 2023, for example, communities in Kharkiv and Odessa resorted to building communal wood-fired stoves in courtyards simply to keep children warm. Volunteers organized makeshift soup kitchens, while local businesses donated generators to hospitals to keep critical wards operational. The front lines are no longer only trenches and artillery. Now, entire cities battle to adapt, repair, and outlast a campaign of destruction. The true test becomes not just what is lost, but how swiftly it can be rebuilt. The speed of recovery, the ability to reroute supplies, and the determination to restore normalcy are now as important as any military operation. This is a war of attrition, waged with cutting-edge drones and missiles designed to inflict maximum economic pain for minimal cost. For every weapon launched, often assembled with only a fraction of the resources Ukraine must spend to recover, the goal is to drain budgets, sap morale, and wear down the will to resist. In the spring of 2023, a single drone strike costing less than $50,000 caused over $2 million in damage to a regional power hub. The imbalance is stark, and the strategy is deliberate. If adaptation cannot outpace destruction, the stakes are existential. Morale cracks, services fail, and the backbone of both the military and society risks collapse, long before the gunfire ever stops. Yet even as infrastructure buckles, both leaders and ordinary citizens hunt for ways to adapt and to fight back. The coming days will test not just endurance, but ingenuity. What happens when war is not just waged on soldiers, but on daily life itself? In Ukraine, the battleground has shifted far from the front. Now, every power plant, water tower, railway, and even the hope within each community is a target. In the words of a municipal engineer in Zaporizhia, every day we must invent a new way to keep the city breathing. Modern defense is no longer confined to trenches and uniforms. It is emergency crews working through the night to restore shattered power lines. It is hospitals relying on backup generators, and supply networks rerouting at a moment's notice when bridges or roads are destroyed. The constant flow of information, the support for mental health, and the drive to stay united, these are as vital as any armored column. Communities everywhere are being forced to prepare for new threats. This means storing emergency water, organizing neighborhood support groups, mapping evacuation routes, and ensuring every block has access to alternative energy. In these moments, ordinary people become the first responders, the lifelines who keep entire towns alive when disaster strikes. In the city of Lviv, for example, local councils have distributed portable radios, solar chargers, and first aid kits to every apartment block. Community leaders run training sessions on first response, teaching citizens how to treat wounds, fight fires, and communicate without mobile networks. Adaptation has become a form of armor. Air defense systems are evolving, intercepting drones before they can strike. Engineers race to fortify power grids and build layers of redundancy so that a single missile cannot plunge a city into darkness. Rapid response teams now restore electricity or water in mere hours, not days, frustrating the enemy's aim to spread chaos. A new generation of engineers, many still in their 20s, are inventing modular substations that can be deployed in hours to replace destroyed infrastructure. These innovations echo the British Home Guard's improvisations during World War II, creating a civilian backbone for national defense. But resilience is not built in isolation. International allies are crucial, sending equipment, technical expertise, and urgent financial support. The speed at which these lifelines arrive determines whether a community can recover quickly or slip further into hardship and despair. The European Union and the United States, for instance, have supplied hundreds of generators, transformers, and kilometers of high-voltage cable, while Polish and Slovakian crews have crossed the border to help restore critical infrastructure. This spirit of international solidarity recalls the Berlin airlift, when an entire city survived by the collective effort of allies. At the heart of true resilience lies belief, a conviction shared by millions that their systems and their spirit can withstand any onslaught. This belief, that hospitals, power grids, and democracy itself are stronger than any barrage, is what holds a nation together when everything else is under attack. The stories of teachers holding classes in candlelit basements, of grandmothers baking bread for soldiers, of children painting signs of hope on shattered walls. These are the real fortifications against despair. The danger is real. If people resign themselves to disruption, or simply wait for old systems to hold, suffering will deepen and recovery will slow. But by adapting relentlessly, through preparation, ingenuity, and solidarity, communities can save lives, safeguard morale, and protect the future. As the nature of warfare evolves, so too must the way societies defend themselves. The next challenge is not just to survive the blows, but to anticipate and outmaneuver them. In the coming months, Ukraine and its supporters will need to invest not only in weapons, but in systems for rapid repair, in public education, and in psychological support to help people endure the unseen wounds of constant disruption. So what practical steps can communities and individuals take to protect themselves in this new era? Here are several concrete measures, drawn from both Ukrainian experience and past conflicts. First, stockpile essential supplies: water, food, medicine, and batteries. During the Balkan Wars of the 1990s, cities like Sarajevo survived years under siege by rationing resources and sharing among neighbors. Second, invest in alternative power sources, such as solar panels or generators, to keep critical systems running during prolonged outages. Third, train local volunteers in first aid, fire safety, and basic engineering. In times of crisis, the ability to respond quickly can mean the difference between life and death. Fourth, build networks of communication that can function without the internet or mobile phones. During Hurricane Katrina in the United States, amateur radio operators played a vital role in coordinating rescue efforts. Fifth, prioritize mental health. Chronic stress and uncertainty can erode resilience as surely as any drone strike. Community centers in Ukraine now offer counseling and support groups, helping people process trauma and find strength in solidarity. Wars are no longer decided by bold headlines or battlefield heroics. Today, the true victories are silent, unfolding in the shadows, measured not in territory gained, but in the slow erosion of hope and the quiet breaking of systems. The new front lines wind deep into every city, every home, every fragile circuit that keeps life moving. Each blackout, each halted train, each flicker of uncertainty in the grid is a strike, not just against soldiers, but against the very endurance of millions. These attacks are carefully chosen, designed to make ordinary life crumble piece by piece, until even the simplest routines become acts of defiance. The greatest battles are no longer fought with columns of tanks, but with swarms of drones, precision strikes, and the relentless pressure of disruption. This is the war few see. Not loud explosions, but the slow suffocation of infrastructure and the grinding down of daily resilience. The goal is to exhaust a nation before its spirit can rally, to force surrender not through overwhelming force, but through relentless attrition. Every parent who wonders if their child will reach school safely, every storekeeper who waits for lights to return, lives on the knife edge of this conflict. If we focus only on maps and dramatic clashes, we fail to grasp the real stakes. Modern war tests whether a society can keep its rhythm when every link in the chain is under attack. Each disrupted supply line, each shattered railway switch ripples outward, affecting food, medicine, warmth, and even the possibility of hope itself. To witness this struggle is to realize the enemy is not just across distant fields, but lurking in every vulnerable system. Supporting those who endure means more than sending arms or counting losses. It demands empathy, understanding, and unwavering support for the fabric of daily life. Recognizing the true nature of these battles is the first step to meaningful action. For nations, communities, and each of us, nothing is more urgent. As we look ahead, the question becomes, how do we adapt, support, and prepare for a world where conflict is everywhere and nowhere, always pressing at the edges of ordinary existence? The answer is not simple, but it is clear. By learning from history, by investing in resilience, and by standing together, we can ensure that even as wars change, the spirit that binds a people and the systems that sustain them will endure. The outcome may not be decided in a single battle, but in the quiet victories won every day by those who refuse to let darkness prevail.